Hey up guys! So the time has finally come for me to talk about Tenet, the 11th film from writer-director Christopher Nolan. It's been long awaited, this movie. It's kind of been viewed as the saving grace of cinema, you know, the first big mega blockbuster to try and get people back to the cinemas, get bums in seats and, you know, enjoy the big screen experience. Is it worth it? Let me work it. Put my thing down, flip it and reverse it. It's flippity-flip vignette. It's flippity-flip vignette. That is backwards for it's totally worth it. Go to the cinema. Let's talk about Tenet. Thanks so much for joining me, guys, for my review of Tenet. This is a spoiler-free review. However, when it comes to Tenet, it's one of those films where so much of it could be considered spoilery. So this is going to be a bread and butter review. You know, plot, what's good about it, what's bad about it, and a rating. I'll do another video that goes into greater detail about the film after I've seen it a second time later this week. Because honestly, I don't think I am qualified enough to go into the intricacies of Tenet after only seeing it once. To be honest, I'm not sure there's anyone that can, apart from Christopher Nolan himself. This film is quite literally the opposite of straightforward. Christopher Nolan, if you do so happen to watch this video, can we please have another chalkboard analysis of Tenet like you did for Memento? Be much appreciated. If you guys want more movie and TV content just like this, then don't forget to hit subscribe. Are you guys excited for Tenet? Are you gonna go see it in IMAX? And if you have seen it, what did you guys think of it? Do you agree with me or do you disagree with my review? Let your voice be heard in that comment section down below. Tenet is a lot. I mean, it's everything that you would want from a Christopher Nolan movie: unconventional structure, riveting characters, avant-garde set pieces, and shot in glorious IMAX 70mm. I mean, it's a Nolan fanboy's wet dream, but oh my goodness, is it one hefty slice of whatever Nolan is serving us. It's so big that you feel bloated after you've watched it. Our literal protagonist is played by John David Washington. Seriously? He doesn't have a name, he's just known as the Protagonist. He's a secret agent who works for this international undercover organization who are trying to prevent something larger than World War III. His mission takes him on a jet-setting trip around the world where he learns about this new inverted weapons technology and how arms dealer Andre Sato, played by Kenneth, plans to use it. Okay, that's it for plot. Anything else and we're verging on spoiler territory, so I'm gonna stop there. Tenet is essentially Christopher Nolan doing a Bond movie. It's uber stylish both in the visual aesthetic as well as the costumes by Jeffrey Kurland. Nolan takes us to some gorgeous locations. He gives us some larger-than-life action set pieces, or as large as cinematographer Hoyt van Hoytma's dazzling cinematography will allow in IMAX. It's got a fantastic, very Nolan soundtrack, even though this is by Ludwig Goransan and not Hans Zimmer. He does this thing with synths, where it sounds like the sound is played in reverse, and it really does sound cool. And Nolan gives us a villain with plans of world, well, not domination, but obliteration might be the better word. Kenneth is absolutely superb in this as the villain, but praise needs to go to all the cast. John David Washington as the literal protagonist, he is incredible. He's so effortlessly suave and cool. He just oozes charisma. Robert Pattinson is so charming as his ally Ned. They have a great dynamic, those two. And Elizabeth Debiki adds so many dimensions to what could have been a very typical Nolan femme fatale. She plays Andre's wife and they have a son together, but she's trapped in this volatile marriage, so you feel a great deal of sympathy for her. Let's talk about them action scenes because they are immense. They're like things that you'd expect from a spy movie, you know, like car chases and like bungee jumping sort of stuff, but with Nolan, he gives it a little twist. You've got characters reverse bungee jumping into buildings, as well as car chases occurring both in linear and reverse, like simultaneously. There's a reason we all love the action scenes in Christopher Nolan movies because of how much he manages to accomplish practically. And in this film, his crowning achievement has to be the crashing of a real 747 aircraft. That is not a spoiler in my eyes. It's in the trailers and it's also been heavily publicized. So yeah, not a spoiler. It just evidences how much clout Christopher Nolan actually has now as a director, because he can go to Warner Brothers and say, all right, I need X amount of money because I'm gonna crash a real 747 into an airport hangar. Is that all right? And they're just like, yeah, go for it. And by God, is it dazzling to watch that scene in IMAX for all its majesty. I'm telling you guys, the one shot of it crashing is so worth the price of an IMAX ticket. Treat yourself. But for all of Christopher Nolan's gratifying set pieces and visual panache, where he loses points with Tenet is with the script. Tenet is 2.5 hours of constant exposition. I knew going into this film that this was going to be another bit of cerebral storytelling from Christopher Nolan, and I love that about him because he doesn't dumb things down for the audience, he makes intelligent blockbusters. But if you can fully understand Tenet after just one sitting, then you, my friend, are a much, much, much smarter person than I am. There is so much technical jargon thrown at you constantly throughout this film. Stuff about plutonium and grandpa paradoxes and algorithms, not to mention trying to keep track and focus on two different narrative strands playing out at the same time, one going forwards, one going backwards. It's a lot for the brain to process all at once. Like I said before, this film is a lot, and that's something that I love about Christopher Nolan movies, is that he makes movies which are actually better the more times you watch them. They're actually more appreciated on a second viewing or a third or a fourth. Tenet is definitely a film that demands to be watched at least twice. But for all those that aren't Christopher Nolan fanboys and just plan to watch this once, I can understand why a lot of people will probably feel a bit overwhelmed by the abundance of exposition, information, jargon, and terminology that Christopher Nolan throws at you. Also, when left to his own devices, Christopher Nolan has a tendency to romanticize his dialogue. Thankfully, there's nothing in Tenet as eye-rolling as the whole love transcends time and dimension speech from Interstellar. But there are a few occasions where the dialogue is a bit You've got lines like, "What does your heart tell you?" and "If I can't have you, no one can." And there's also bits where it gets a little bit meta. Like there's a scene where Robert Pattinson is trying to explain some physics to John David Washington, who is essentially a stand-in for the audience. And he says to him, "Does your head hurt yet?" It's like a little wink from Christopher Nolan saying, yeah, this film is smart, I don't expect you to get all of it, but try your best. And then there's another scene where John David Washington is with this scientist played by Clemence Posey, and she says to him, "Don't try to understand it, feel it." Which again feels like Christopher Nolan saying to the audience, just sit back and enjoy the ride. And my final negative is that the aspect ratio does fluctuate in certain scenes, and I found that a little bit distracting. Not all this film was shot in the same aspect ratio, and there are certain scenes which overlap with each other, and it jumps from IMAX to standard. That just bothers me a little bit. So let's ask those three questions. Firstly, would I watch this again? Absolutely. Tenet is one of those films which demands to be watched at least twice, but I will definitely be adding it to my collection as well. Question number 2, do I recommend it for you guys? I strongly recommend that everybody goes and checks out Tenet. It is such a bold and unique experience. I don't think it's Nolan's best film. I think it bites off a bit more than the audience can chew. But regardless, it's such ambitious and jaw-dropping cinema that it's worth checking out and seeing in IMAX. If you can see it in IMAX, then I strongly recommend that you watch it in IMAX. It's totally worth it. And question number 3, what score to give out of 10? I'm gonna give Tenet a score of 7 out of 10. If you guys have seen Tenet, let me know what your score for it would be in the comment section down below. If you want more movie and TV content, don't forget to click subscribe. If you like the video, please hit like. And for my Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd links, they're all in the video description down below. Thanks so much for watching, guys. For more things related to movies, TV, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Gearfield, and I'll see you next time.